When I was a boy, I had a dream. I wanted to play the piano. I wanted to make music. I wanted to feel the keys under my fingers. But I lived in a small town. There were no pianos in my house. There were no music schools. There were no teachers. I only heard music on the radio. I listened to it every day. I closed my eyes and imagined playing. I imagined my hands moving over the keys. I imagined the sound filling the room. But it was only a dream. One day, I saw a piano. It was in a shop window. It was big and black. It was beautiful. The sun shone on it and it looked like gold. I stood there for a long time. I wanted to touch it. I wanted to play just one note. But I had no money. I knew my family could not buy it. My father worked hard, but we were not rich. A piano was too expensive. I walked away, but I did not forget it. I thought about it every night. I dreamed about it. At school, I talked about music. My friends did not understand. They liked sports. They liked running and playing outside. They talked about games and races. But I talked about music. I talked about pianos and songs. They laughed at me. "Why do you like music so much?" they asked. I did not know what to say. I only knew that music made me happy, but I felt alone with my dream. Then something happened. One evening, I was walking home after school. The air was cool and the sky was orange. Suddenly, I heard music. It came from a small house. The window was open. The sound was soft and beautiful. My heart beat fast. I stopped and listened. Someone was playing the piano. The music was slow and sweet. It filled the air like magic. I walked closer. I looked inside. An old man was sitting at the piano. His fingers moved over the keys. His face was calm. He looked happy. He looked peaceful. I wanted to talk to him, but I was afraid. I was just a boy. He was a stranger. I stood there, listening until the music stopped. Then the man turned and saw me. He smiled. My heart jumped. I wanted to run, but I stayed. He opened the door. "Do you like music?" he asked. His voice was kind. I nodded. My voice was small. "Yes," I said. He looked at me for a moment. Then he said, "Come in." I stood at the door. My heart was beating fast. I had never been inside a house like this. The man smiled and moved to the side. "Come in," he said again. I took a small step, then another. The room was warm and quiet. The piano was in the centre. It was old, but it was beautiful. The black and white keys looked smooth. The wood was dark and shiny. The air smelled like books and tea. I looked around. There were pictures on the walls. There were books on the shelves. It was not a big house, but it felt special. The man sat down at the piano again. "Do you want to try?" he asked. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I had never touched a piano before. I wanted to say yes, but I was afraid. What if I made a mistake? What if I sounded bad? The man saw my face and smiled. "Come," he said. He patted the seat next to him. Slowly, I walked to the piano. I sat down beside him. My hands were shaking. "Now you try," he said. I took a deep breath. I lifted my hand. My fingers touched the key. A note filled the air. It was just one note, but to me it was magic. I pressed another key, then another. The sounds were small, but they were real. I looked at the man. He was watching me. His eyes were kind. "Good," he said. "Music is inside you. You just need to find it." I did not understand his words, but they made me feel warm inside. He started to play again. His hands moved easily. The music was slow and sweet. It filled the small house. I watched his fingers. They looked so light, like they were dancing. I wanted to play like that. I wanted my fingers to dance too. He stopped and looked at me. "Do you want to learn?" he asked. I felt something strong inside me. A dream. A wish. A fire. I nodded. "Yes," I said. My voice was louder now. He smiled. "Then come back tomorrow," he said. I could not believe it. Someone wanted to teach me. Someone wanted to help me play. I left the house that night with a new feeling. It was hope. That night I could not sleep. I lay in bed thinking about the piano. I thought about the old man's hands moving over the keys. I thought about the soft, beautiful sounds filling the small house. I had touched a piano for the first time. I had played a note. It was only one note, but it felt special. It felt like the beginning of something new. It was full of excitement. I wanted the night to pass quickly. I wanted to go back. The next day I ran to his house. The sun was bright and the air was fresh. I stopped at the door and knocked. My hands were shaking. I was afraid. What if he changed his mind? What if he did not want to teach me? What if he was only being kind? But then the door opened. The old man smiled. "You came," he said. I nodded. He stepped aside, and I walked in. The piano was waiting. He sat down and showed me the keys. "These are the notes," he said. He pressed one key, then another. "Each note has a name. Each sound is different." I watched closely. I listened carefully. He played a simple tune, just a few notes. Then he looked at me. "Now you try." I took a deep breath. I put my fingers on the keys. Slowly, I pressed them one by one. The sounds were not perfect, but they were real. I was playing. He nodded. "Good," he said. "Music is not just notes, it is feeling, it is emotion." I did not understand everything he said, but I wanted to learn. I wanted to understand. He gave me small exercises. He told me to practice. "Come every day," he said. "If you want to play, you must practice." I promised I would. Every afternoon I went to his house. Every day I sat at the piano. My fingers were slow, but they got stronger. My hands were small, but they learned to move. The old man was patient. He watched me. He corrected me. He never got angry. He never said I was bad. He only told me to try again. Weeks passed. My music became better. My fingers became faster. I learned small songs. They were simple, but they made me happy. I played them again and again. Each time, I felt a little closer to my dream. Each time, I felt a little more like a pianist. The piano became my world. Every day after school, I ran to the old man's house. The moment I touched the keys, I felt happy. I forgot everything else. I forgot about school. I forgot about my friends who did not understand. I forgot about the small town where no one played music. When I played, I was in another place. A place where only music mattered. The old man watched me with kind eyes. He corrected my mistakes. He showed me how to move my hands. He taught me how to listen, not just to the notes, but to the feeling inside them. At first, my fingers were slow. Sometimes I played the wrong notes. Sometimes I got frustrated. But the old man always smiled. "Do not stop," he said. "Every mistake teaches you something." So I kept going. I played the same songs again and again. My hands became stronger. My fingers moved faster. The music started to sound better. One day, I played a full song without stopping. It was simple. But when I finished, I looked at the old man. He nodded.